In my past life, my roommate secretly used my identity information to take out campus loans all over the internet. I was forced to drop out, hiding every day like a rat crossing the street to avoid debt collectors. Meanwhile, she used that money to go abroad and polish her resume, becoming a glamorous financial elite. At our class reunion, she linked arms with her wealthy fiancé and threw a black card at my face. Saran, take the 300,000 yuan as your buyout money. After all, that's all you're worth in this lifetime. In desperation, I took her down with me. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the moment when she was holding my ID card and student ID, taking photos of them. This time, I called the anti-fraud center right in front of her. Hello, I'd like to report that my roommate is preparing to commit telecommunications fraud. My roommate's face instantly turned deathly pale. I opened my eyes, and the warm yellow light in the dormitory stunned my eye sockets until they ached. At the desk opposite me, my roommate Linwei was standing with her back to me, holding my ID card and student ID in her hand. Her phone camera flashed, making a faint click sound. It was this moment. Nothing had happened yet. My heart was pounding wildly in my chest. The agonizing pain of being cornered by debt collectors in a dark alley in my past life, their fists and kicks raining down on me, seemed to still linger in my bones. Linwei, my best close friend, using my identity information, she borrowed from every campus loan platform online, totaling 300,000 yuan. From that moment on, my life fell into an abyss. I dropped out of school, hid away, was beaten, and was humiliated. Meanwhile, she took that money, went abroad in style, and became an elite in the financial world, admired by everyone. At the class reunion, she hooked her arm through a wealthy tycoon's and slapped a black card against my face. Suran, 300,000, take it as your price for selling yourself. After all, that's all you're worth in this lifetime. I lunged at her, determined to drag her down with me. Hellish memories burned through my nerves, and I could barely keep my whole body from trembling. After Linwei finished taking the photo, she seemed to notice my movement and turned around. That sweet, harmless smile I was all too familiar with was on her face. Ran, you're awake. Did I wake you? She shook the phone in her hand, her tone innocent and affectionate. I was just helping you with a scholarship application. They say it's a newly introduced policy, especially friendly to students like us from poor families. You can get several thousand just by filling in your information. I saw you were asleep, so I took the liberty of helping you take an ID photo. You won't blame me for that, will you? In my past life, I thanked her with tears of gratitude just like this. Then, step by step, I walked into the trap she had carefully laid for me. I looked at her beautiful face, and my stomach churned violently. I didn't say anything. I just lifted the blanket and sat up in bed. The other two roommates in the dorm, one named Zhang Meng, was watching a drama with headphones on, and the other, Li Jing, was putting on makeup in front of the mirror. They all seemed not to have noticed the abnormality over here. I slowly picked up the phone I had placed by my pillow. Linwei's smile stiffened for a moment, and a trace of barely noticeable panic flashed in her eyes. Ran. What's wrong with you? Your face looks so pale. Are you sick? She pretended to care and reached out to touch my forehead. I dodged away right in front of her. I unlocked my phone screen, my fingers swiping across the cold display until I found the number I knew by heart. Then, I pressed the call button. The color on Linwei's face was fading at a visibly rapid pace. Suran, who are you calling? Her voice started to turn sharp. Hearing the sound, Li Jing turned her head and frowned impatiently. Suran, are you out of your mind? Why are you making a phone call in the middle of the night? Weiwei is kindly helping you, so who are you putting on that dead face for? Zhang Meng also took off her headphones and looked at us blankly. What's going on? I ignored them and just turned on the speakerphone. A clear electronic voice rang out in the quiet dorm room. Hello, this is the National Anti-Fraud Center. How may I help you? Linwei's body lurched violently, as if struck by lightning. The expression on her face changed in an instant from panic to a ghastly pallor and fear. I lifted my eyes and, word by word, spoke clearly into the phone microphone. Hello, I'm reporting that my roommate is preparing to carry out telecom fraud. Her name is Linwei, and she is using my personal information without authorization, intending to apply for an illegal online loan. Linwei's pupils suddenly constricted. She let out a scream and charged at me like a madwoman, trying to snatch my phone. Suran, are you crazy? What nonsense are you talking about? I sidestepped out of the way, letting her lunge at nothing and crash awkwardly to the ground. The other two people in the dorm were completely stunned. Li Jing stared with her mouth wide open, not even noticing when the lipstick in her hand fell to the floor. Zhang Meng was so frightened that she even stood up from her chair. On the other end of the line, the operator's calm voice came through. Student, please don't panic. Are you safe? Right now, please tell us your exact location, the school, dormitory building, and room number. Just then, there was a loud clang. The dorm room door was locked from the outside. The dorm supervisor, Auntie's familiar, booming voice rang out from outside the door. Routine safety inspection. Everyone stay in your dorms and don't move. We'll be there right away. 2. The dorm supervisor, Auntie's shout became the last straw that broke Linway. She collapsed onto the floor, the last trace of color draining from her face. Her lips trembled, and she couldn't say a word. Li Jing finally reacted. She rushed up to me and screamed, pointing at the tip of my nose, "Su-ran, are you crazy? Why would you do this to Wei Wei? She treats you so well all the time. What food or clothes has she ever not shared with you? You're just an ungrateful wolf who can't be fed. It's just taking a photo, isn't it? Does it have to get so bad that you call the police? Do you want to ruin her?" I looked at her coldly. In my previous life, Li Jing was like this too. When I was being bombarded by debt collector calls until I was on the verge of a mental breakdown, she and Linwei were in the dormitory, pointing at me and cursing me out. "Su-ran, you're disgusting. You owe so much money and still have the nerve to stay at school. Don't drag us down." Exactly. Look at how pathetic and cheap she is. She must have borrowed money to buy luxury goods, right? So vain. Back then, Linwei stood nearby, putting on a look of deep distress as she tried to mediate. "Don't talk about Ran like that. She must have her reasons." Thinking about it now, it's really ironic. I ignored Li Jing's roar and calmly said to the person on the other end of the phone, "A university, dormitory building 13, room 402. Okay, we've already notified the campus security office and the local police station. They'll be there right away. Please make sure you stay safe, lock your door, and avoid any direct confrontation with the other party." After hanging up, I put my phone away and looked at Linwei on the floor with unhurried composure. She finally came to her senses from the overwhelming terror, and tears streamed down her face in an instant. She didn't look at me, but turned to Zhang Meng and Li Jing instead, crying pitifully and looking heartbroken and helpless. "Xiao Jing, Meng, I really didn't. I just saw that Ran has been short on cash lately and wanted to help her look for any student benefits she could apply for. I really didn't know that app was a payday loan app." Crying, she used both hands and feet to crawl to Li Jing's feet, clutching her calf. "How could I ever hurt Ran? She's my best friend. Woo, this must be a misunderstanding. Xiao Jing, please help me explain to Ran." "Okay." Li Jing was instantly overwhelmed by maternal tenderness. She crouched down to support her, feeling heartbroken. Wei, don't cry. I believe you. Su-ran must have misunderstood. She's just overly sensitive and suspicious. Completely ungrateful. She turned her head and glared at me. "Su-ran, did you hear me? Vivi is innocent. Hurry up and make another call to tell the police you made a mistake. Otherwise, when the police get here later, the one who'll be embarrassed is you." Zhang Meng also spoke up hesitantly. Ran, could this really be a misunderstanding? Vivi, she's usually a pretty nice person." I almost laughed out loud. Pretty nice. I walked up to Linwei and looked down at her from above. "Linwei, you're saying you didn't know that app was a payday loan app? Then do you dare unlock your phone and open that app so we can see what kind of student benefit you were just applying for?" Linwei's sobs suddenly stopped, her eyes darted away, and she clutched her phone tightly to her chest. My phone is dead." "Oh, is it?" I raised an eyebrow. "I remember your power bank was just fully charged, wasn't it? Right there on your desk." I nodded toward the pink power bank on her desk with my chin. Lin Wei's face went even paler. Seeing this, Li Jing immediately jumped up to defend her. "Su-ran, enough. Are you interrogating a criminal? If Vivi says there isn't one, then there isn't one. What right do you have to force her?" "Force her?" I laughed, yet my eyes remained devoid of any real warmth. "I'm only stating the facts. This so-called student benefit demands applicants to upload front and back ID photos, student ID pictures, and requires the applicant's own facial verification to sign up. Doesn't that strike you as suspicious?" I paused, my gaze sweeping across each of them one by one. "The amount of this benefit is 50,000, with an annual interest rate as high as 30%. Once this money is borrowed in my name and I can't pay it back, do you know what the consequences will be? Being violently hounded for repayment, having my contact list exposed, naked photos edited and sent to all my relatives and friends, being forced to drop out of school, and living in the shadow of it for the rest of my life. And the person doing all this is you, Linwei. You call this a misunderstanding." My voice wasn't loud, but every word landed clearly in their ears. Li Jing and Zhang Meng both changed color. Linwei was trembling even more. Like a leaf in the wind, she lifted her head, and in those tear-filled eyes, there was finally no longer any faint grievance, only deep-seated malice. "Su-ran, why are you doing this to me?" "Because in my past life, you ruined me this way." I answered in my heart. A pounding knock sounded at the door, accompanied by the stern voice of the security office staff. Open the door. Routine inspection by the security office. Linway's body completely went limp. I walked over and slid back the bolt. Outside the door were 2 school security guards in uniform, along with our college counselor. As soon as the counselor saw the tense, confrontational atmosphere in the dorm room, especially Linway, collapsed on the floor, her brows immediately furrowed. What's going on? Sue ran. Linway, what are you doing? Before I could say anything, Linway suddenly seemed to seize a lifeline and scrambled over, throwing herself at the counselor's feet. Teacher Wang, help me. Sue Ran has gone crazy. She's framing me. Behind the counselor, 2 police officers walked in. One of them asked, who is Sue Ran? Who is Linway? I raised my hand. I'm Sue Ran. The police nodded, then looked at Linway on the ground, their gaze landing on the phone tightly clenched in her hand. Linway, right, please hand over the phone in your hand to us. 3. The counselor's surname was Wang. She was a young female teacher who had graduated only 2 years earlier, and what she cared about most was the harmony and honor of her class. She clearly hadn't grasped the situation. The moment she saw the police, her expression changed. Officer, this must be some kind of misunderstanding, right? The girls in our dorm are all excellent, especially Linway. She's even the class league branch secretary and outstanding in both conduct and academics. How could she? The police ignored her defense and simply repeated themselves, their tone leaving no room for doubt. Linway, please cooperate with us and hand over your phone. Linway hugged the counselor's leg, crying so hard she could barely catch her breath. Teacher Wang, I really didn't. It was Sue Ran. She was jealous that I got the scholarship, so she deliberately framed me. Her ability to twist right and wrong was truly etched into her bones. In my previous life, she was the same way. Just a few words were enough to turn everyone against me. Counselor Wang really fell for that. She immediately looked at me with a reproachful expression. Sue Ran, what's wrong with you? If there's any conflict between classmates, can't you just talk it out properly? Why do you have to make it go so far as calling the police? Do you know how much negative impact this will have on the school and on classmate Linway? Right now, immediately, at once, explain it clearly to the police officers and say it was just a joke. I looked at her and suddenly found it ridiculous. Teacher Wang, if the person lying on the ground crying today were me, and the person who had 50,000 yuan in high-interest loans taken out under their identity information were me, would you still think this was a joke? You? Counselor Wang was left speechless by my rebuttal. Excellent in both character and academics, class branch secretary. I turned to Linway and asked word by word, Linway, do you dare say again, in front of the police and the teachers, that you did not misuse my information? Under my gaze, Linway's eyes darted around. She did not dare meet my eyes. The police lost patience and directly issued a warning to her. Linway, we are reminding you that obstructing official duties and destroying evidence will only add to your crimes. We have the right to forcibly inspect your phone in accordance with the law. Those words became the final ultimatum. Linway's psychological defenses completely collapsed, her hand loosened, and the phone fell to the ground with a smack. The screen was still lit, showing a crude lending app interface. In the applicant name field, the 2 words Sue Ran were clearly written. The requested amount was the glaring 50,000, and the application status showed awaiting facial recognition. The evidence was conclusive. The entire dormitory fell into a deathly silence. Counselor Wang's face changed from flushed red to deathly pale. She stared in disbelief at Linway on the floor, her mouth opening and closing, but not a single word came out. Li Jing and Zhang Meng were even more dumbfounded, clearly not expecting the truth to turn out like this. Linway knew it was all over. She suddenly stopped crying and just sat on the ground, staring at me fixedly with a venomous look in her eyes. That kind of hatred was exactly the same as what I had seen in her eyes in my previous life before I died. The police picked up the phone as evidence and said to Linway, Linway, you are suspected of using another person's information to carry out fraudulent activities. Please come with us back to the police station for questioning. 2 security guards stepped forward and invited her to stand up, one on her left and one on her right. Just as she was being taken out of the dormitory door, she suddenly broke free, turned back, and let out a shrill scream at me. Sue Ran, you ruined me. I won't let you off, even as a ghost. I won't let you off. The sound echoed through the empty hallway, sending chills down one's spine. Counselor Wang finally came to her senses. She looked at me with an ugly expression, her tone filled with displaced anger and displeasure. Sue Ran, are you satisfied now? What good does it do you to make such a huge scene? Linway did something wrong, but she's your roommate after all. Can't you give her one chance? Do you really have to drive her to the wall? I could hardly believe my ears. Teacher Wang, what you mean is, I should let her smoothly borrow this money in my name, and then carry the debt for her for the rest of my life, and only then would that count as giving her a chance. Counselor Wang was left speechless. Or are you saying that, in your eyes, the school's reputation, and the future of a model student with both integrity and academic excellence, are more important than the innocence and life of a poor student like me, who has neither power nor influence? My voice wasn't loud, but it was filled with coldness. Counselor Wang's face turned green, then white. She had probably never been so openly challenged by a student. She pointed at me, unable to say a word for quite a while. In the end, she could only throw out, You're simply unreasonable." Then she stomped away in her high heels, clacking thud 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 as she chased after the direction the police had gone, probably trying to make one last effort for her beloved student. In the dormitory, only the three of us were left. Li Jing's expression was the most interesting of all. She looked at me, then at the empty doorway, her face full of embarrassment and a trace of lingering fear. She opened her mouth, as if she wanted to say something. I didn't give her the chance. I walked up to her and looked into her eyes. "Li Jing, just now you said I was ungrateful, right?" Li Jing's body stiffened. "You said Lin Wei and I split her food and clothes 50-50. Right." I picked up a snack gift pack on the table that hadn't been opened yet. It was something Lin Wei gave me yesterday, saying, "My family sent too much, I can't finish it. In my past life, I was just like this, bought over by her with these small favors and utterly devoted to her." In front of Li Jing and Zhang Meng, I tore open the wrapper. Inside, a receipt fell out. I picked it up and held it up to Li Jing's eyes. "Look carefully. The production date is the day before yesterday, and the expiration date written on this receipt is yesterday." For Li Jing's eyes were fixed on the receipt, her expression shifting from embarrassment to shock, then flushing with a hint of humiliation. She certainly recognized it. This was a receipt from the school supermarket. The snacks Lin Wei claimed were sent from home were actually bought at a discounted price because they were about to expire, and yet, she uses these cheap, nearly expired items to play the role of a generous, good friend right in front of me. "See this?" I threw the receipt on the table. "This is her so-called kindness toward me. She gives me expired snacks, hands me her worn-out old clothes, and passes on the leftover cosmetic samples she no longer wants. Then she tells everyone how well she takes care of me, and you, Li Jing, are her biggest mouthpiece. You go around praising her kindness while making me look ungrateful. Have you ever wondered why she's so generous to you? The latest lipstick, designer bags? Is it because your family is well off, making you worth her investment? And what about me, an orphan with no parents, a poor wretch who can only attend school with financial aid? In your eyes and hers, I only deserve to eat these expired things, right?" Every word I spoke was like a knife, stabbing deeply into Li Jing's heart. Her face turned from red to pale, her lips trembling, yet she couldn't utter a single word in rebuttal, because everything I said is the truth. Zhang Meng, who had remained silent all along, now lowered her head and quietly pushed a similar snack gift pack from her desk into the trash bin. Clearly, she was also one of the beneficiaries. The atmosphere in the entire dormitory was suffocatingly tense. This matter quickly spread throughout the school. Lin Wei was taken away by the police, and with solid evidence, the school couldn't suppress it even if they tried. However, Lin Wei's parents soon rushed over from out of town. I was called to the dean's office by Counselor Wang. Pushing open the door, I saw Lin Wei's parents. Her mother was dressed in a Chanel suit, wearing a diamond ring the size of a pigeon egg, with a programmed, arrogant smile on her face. Her father sat on the sofa, exuding authority without anger, clearly someone who had long held a high position. Lin Wei stood behind them, her eyes red and swollen. When she saw me enter, the resentment in her gaze almost seemed to solidify into something tangible, and the dean, a middle-aged man with a Mediterranean hairstyle, was all smiles as he offered a cigarette to Lin Wei's father. When he saw me, the dean's smile faded a little, replaced by a stern, businesslike expression. "Student Su Ran, you're here, have a seat." I didn't sit down. "Dean, Teacher Wang, did you ask me to come for something?" Lin Wei's mother stood up. She walked over to me, took out a card from her Hermes bag, and handed it to me with elegant poise. "Student Su Ran, right? I'm Lin Wei's mother. Our Wei Wei is young and immature, and she frightened you. That was our fault." Her tone was very polite, but her eyes were full of condescending charity. "There's 50,000 yuan on this card. Think of it as us apologizing to you on Vivi's behalf. As for you, just go tell the police that this whole thing was a misunderstanding, just a joke, and that you're willing to accept our settlement and not pursue it any further. What do you say?" I looked at the card and laughed. 50,000 yuan. In my previous life, I worked 3 jobs just to pay the interest on this debt, until I was so exhausted I ended up with a bleeding stomach. Now, In their eyes, this was just petty cash used to settle trouble. Auntie, do you think my life, my innocence, is only worth 50,000 yuan? Lin Wei's mother's expression darkened. Young man, don't be too greedy. Know when to stop while you're ahead. It won't do you any harm. Lin Wei's father, who was sitting on the sofa, finally spoke. His voice was deep, carrying an oppressive force that brooked no argument. Student Su ran. I heard from Dean Wang that you came to school through a national scholarship and student loans. You're a smart person, so you should know how important a person's future is. Is it worth ruining another student's future and blocking your own path over an error that never even happened? He paused, picked up his teacup, and gently blew on it. Our Lin family may not be some illustrious or noble clan, but in the education sector, we still have some connections. Our company is also the largest donor to a university's new library project. Dean, don't you think so? The dean hurriedly nodded and bowed. Yes, 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 Mr. Lin's support for our school is something we all keep firmly in mind. A naked threat. Every one of them was forcing me to swallow this bitter grudge, forcing me to admit that this was just a joke. Seeing that she had her parents backing her up, Lin Wei grew bolder too. She hid behind her mother, looking at me with venomous eyes, and even the corners of her mouth curled into a smug, cold smile, as if saying, Suran, you can't beat me. I looked at all the ugly faces in this room, from the dean to the counselor, and then to Lin Wei and her parents. I suddenly felt that my past life self, who had dragged Lin Wei down with me to our mutual destruction, had really let her off too easily. I took a deep breath and met the gaze of all of them. So, what you're saying is that if I don't agree to a settlement today, if I don't withdraw the police report, then my scholarship will be revoked. I'll be expelled, and I won't be able to get by in this city at all, right? Dean Lin coughed lightly. Classmate Saran, that's not quite how you should put it. The school is also considering the bigger picture. I understand. I interrupted him. Then under the gaze of everyone there, some smug, some contemptuous, some impatient, I took out my phone. I didn't say anything, just pressed play. A clear recording came through the phone. It was Lin Wei's voice, sweet yet vicious. Don't worry. It's not my ID card. It's my stupid, broke roommates. She's an orphan, with no one at home, so even if something happens, no one will stand up for her. Once I get this 50,000 yuan, I'll have enough for the deposit to study abroad. By the time I'm overseas, who cares whether she's beaten to death by debt collectors or forced to jump off a building? The entire dean's office fell instantly into a deathly silence. 5. When the recording finished playing, the office was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Lin Wei's face lost all color in an instant, paler than a corpse in the morgue. She stared at me wide-eyed, unable to believe it, her body trembling like a sieve. Lin Wei's mother, the noble woman who had just been looking down on everyone, had her elegant expression completely shattered, leaving only shock and embarrassment. Father Lin's face, which had remained unreadable the entire time, finally showed cracks as well. The hand holding his teacup bulged with veins. As for Dean Wang and Counselor Wang, their expressions could only be described as a spectacle of shifting emotions, shock, panic, and even a hint of irritation at being dragged into this. You, Lin Wei's mother pointed at me, trembling all over with anger. You actually recorded this, you devious, scheming little thing. From the very beginning, you've been plotting against our Weiwei. I turned off my phone, met her gaze, and smiled. Plotting, Auntie, haven't you gotten something wrong? It was your daughter who deliberately tried to use my identity to take out a high-interest loan. It was her who personally said that it wouldn't matter if I were beaten to death by debt collectors. I just pressed a record button to protect myself. Is that what you call scheming? Then what should your daughter's behavior be called? Innocent and naive. My retort left Lin's mother speechless, her well-maintained face turning the color of pig liver. I don't have many strengths, but I do have a good memory. Lin Wei made this call on the balcony at 11:05 last night. I happened to pass by, happened to hear it, and happened to record it. I waved my phone and my smile grew even brighter. Oh, right, to prevent my phone from accidentally getting damaged or lost, I've already backed up this recording several times, uploaded it to the cloud, and sent it to a few friends out of town for safekeeping. I also took the liberty of sending this recording, along with a detailed explanatory email, to the tip-off inboxes of several well-known media outlets, as well as the complaint mailbox of the City Education Bureau. I looked at Dean Wang, and cold sweat was already beading on his forehead. Dean, if this matter were exposed, what kind of headline do you think the media would use? Shocking, a famous alumnus of a university, in order to force the victimized student into a settlement, actually used a donation as leverage, or, poor orphan girl suffers identity theft and is forced into alone by her roommate, to hush it up. The school actually wants to expel her. Which headline do you think is more eye-catching? You dare. Father Lin suddenly stood up from the sofa and shouted in anger. Having held a high position for many years, he had an imposing presence. If it were me in my previous life, I would probably have been scared stiff long ago, but now, I just looked at him calmly. Mr. Lin, please don't get agitated. Whether I dare or not, you'll know very soon. I turned to Director Wang. He no longer dared to look at me. His gaze kept darting away, cold sweat streaming down his face. Director Wang, now, can we talk about who exactly should be fired? Director Wang's lips trembled, and he couldn't say a single word. The nature of this matter had completely changed. A student dispute that could be settled privately had turned into a scandal that could explode in public opinion at any moment, and the recording in my hands was the fuse. Once it was lit, not only would Lin Wei be disgraced, but the entire A university, and even the Lin family, would be dragged into the whirlpool of public opinion. Lin's father clearly thought of this too. The anger on his face gradually faded, replaced by a gloomy calm. He stared at me intently, that look in his eyes like a venomous snake. Go on, tell me, what do you want? He thought I was doing all this for money too. I laughed. I have wanted only one thing from beginning to end, and that is fairness. Lin Wei, using someone else's information to commit fraud, with conclusive evidence in both witness testimony and material proof present, according to the school rules. How should this be dealt with? I think I don't need to say more. Dean Wang wiped the sweat from his forehead and said with difficulty, according to the regulations, she should be expelled from school. All right, I nodded. I'll wait for the school's official notice. Having said that, I didn't give them another glance and turned to leave. When I reached the door, I stopped and looked back at Lin Wei, whose face was ashen. Oh, right, Lin Wei, you just said that even as a ghost, you wouldn't let me off. Don't worry, I'll be waiting. With that, I opened the door and strode away without looking back. Behind me came Lin's mother's shrill scream and Lin's father's furious roar. Suran, stop right there. I did not turn back. I knew that in this war, I had won the first round, but I also knew that things would never end so easily. Just as I got back downstairs at the dormitory building, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. I hesitated for a moment, then answered the call. From the other end of the line came Lin Fu's gloomy voice. Suran, is it? Very good. You've got guts. There was no trace of the disguise he had worn in the office anymore, only naked threats. I'll give you one last chance. Go to the police station now and withdraw the case, then go to the school and apply to withdraw. I can give you 1 million, otherwise, I guarantee that in City A, and even across the whole country, you won't find a single university willing to accept you, nor a single company willing to hire you. I will make sure you truly have nothing. 6 on the phone, Lin's father's voice was like poison tempered with ice, every word carrying a chilling malice. 1 million to buy my silence, to buy me to get lost. I leaned against the plane tree trunk downstairs in the dormitory building, watching the sunlight filter through the leaves and cast dappled shadows. President Lin, your calculations are truly meticulous. With 1 million, you're buying your daughter's future, your company's reputation, and the peace of a university. What a deal. Cut the nonsense. Father Lin's voice was full of impatience. I don't have time to waste on you. Agree, or disagree, and if I say I disagree. There was a brief silence on the other end of the line, followed by a cold laugh. Disagree. Suran, don't be so ungrateful. Do you really think your little trick can threaten me? You're an orphan with neither father nor mother. I have 100 ways to make you disappear from this world without a sound. Believe it or not, I can make sure you don't even see tomorrow's sun. That familiar threat, in my past life, those debt collectors said the same thing to me. I closed my eyes, and the memories of being beaten and locked in a dark room surged back again, making my chest ache with a stifling pain. But I was no longer the girl who could only cry and be afraid. I opened my eyes and said into the phone, word by word, clearly, President Lin, I recorded every word you just said. The charge is threatening and endangering another person's personal safety. I think this new recording should give the police a more comprehensive understanding of your Lin family's morals and conduct. From the other end of the phone came heavy breathing. Clearly, I had infuriated Mr. Lin's father. He probably had never met a tough nut as unbending as me in his entire life. Also, I'd like to remind you of one thing. This is a society governed by law now, not the dictatorship of the Lin family. You think you can cover the sky with one hand, but the internet has a memory. If you dare make me disappear today, tomorrow you and your company will be on the front page of every news outlet. By then, I'm afraid it won't just be a matter of stock prices falling. And one more thing. I cut him off. Stop using the word orphan to provoke me. That's right, I have no father or mother, no power or influence. I'm barefoot, and that's exactly why I fear people like you who have shoes even less. The path under my feet is one I walked myself. not a gift from anyone. If you want to leave me with no way out, then let's see who falls into the abyss first. After saying that, I hung up the phone directly and, by the way, blocked this number. I knew I had completely enraged Father Lin. Next, he would surely use every means at his disposal to deal with me, but I didn't care. If I were to live this life over again, and still had to endure humiliation and be slaughtered by others as I did in my previous life, then I would rather die again. When I returned to the dorm, Li Jing and Zhang Meng were both not there. On the desk, Li Jing's expensive cosmetics and all the little gifts Lin Wei had given her were gone. It seemed she had already made her choice. I had barely sat down when Counselor Wang called. Her voice sounded utterly exhausted, and it had lost the lofty tone she'd had before. Saran, come to my office now. Something wrong. The school's decision regarding Lin Wei has come down. The dean wants you to come over and hear it. I arrived at the office, and only Counselor Wang was there. She looked at me with a very complicated expression, irritation, helplessness, and also a trace of emotion I couldn't quite understand. Suran, I have to admit, I underestimated you before. She handed me a document. This is the school's official document, ordering Lin Wei to be expelled, effective immediately. The notice will be posted first thing tomorrow morning. I took the document and looked at the bright red official seal on it, feeling little joy in my heart. This was only the first step. The school also hopes you'll let it end here, the Counselor Wang said, his tone almost pleading as he looked at me. Don't make a bigger scene out of this. It won't do anyone any good. As for the Lin family, the school will intervene and make sure they won't bother you again. Guarantee? I asked back, what will you use to guarantee that? Your position as a counselor, or the dean's official cap? Counselor Wang's face turned pale again. Suran, do you really have to be this aggressive? Spare others when you can. Teacher Wang, you should say that to Lin Wei and her family. Where were you when they threatened me with expulsion and my future? Where were you when they tried to buy me off with 1 million yuan as if I were a beggar, now that I've simply reclaimed what is rightfully mine? You're telling me to be magnanimous. Sorry, my generosity ran out long ago. In my last life, I handed the file back to her and turned to leave. I'll wait for the school's announcement, but I won't withdraw my police report. She must pay the legal price for what she did. By the time I walked out of the office, it was already completely dark outside. The campus lights were just coming on, and groups of 2 or 3 students laughed and joked as they passed by me. I suddenly felt a little lonely. Just then, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number, and the location showed it was in the city. My heart tightened, and I thought it was someone from the Lin family again. I picked up the phone and cautiously said, "Hello." From the other end came a clear young man's voice, with a hint of uncertainty. "May I ask, is this Soren, Miss Su?" "Yes. Who are you?" "Hello, my name is Qinjing, and I'm a reporter for the program Today's Focus. We received the email and audio recording you sent, and we're very interested in the incident you reported. Are you available now? We'd like to meet with you and talk in person." 7. The reporter's appearance was the final straw that broke the camel's back. When the interview vehicle from Today's Focus stopped at the gate of University A, the entire school leadership was thrown into panic. Today's Focus is the city's highest-rated social news program, known for its in-depth investigations and sharp commentary. Anyone it sets its sights on will be severely shaken, if not stripped down to the bone. I declined the request to appear on camera, but I handed over all the evidence in my possession, including those 2 crucial audio recordings, to reporter Qinjing. I had only one request. I need justice, and I also want more people to see that when ordinary students face the oppression of power and capital, silence and compromise will not bring freedom and openness. It will only make the abuser push even further. Qinjing looked at me, his eyes filled with admiration and respect. "Miss Su, rest assured, our program's purpose is to speak for the truth." The next day, a red-headed official notice ordering Lin Wei's expulsion was officially posted on the bulletin board at a university. "A single stone stirs up 1,000 waves." The school forum instantly exploded. Explosive. Lin Wei, the finance department beauty, was expelled from the school for using her roommate's information to take out online loans. Damn, is this for real? Wasn't Lin Wei supposed to be a model student and a rich, beautiful girl? How could she do something like this? The commenter above is too naive. Never judge a book by its cover. I heard her roommate is an orphan with no family background, so she's just picking on the weak. How vicious. There's insider information. It said the Lin family even wanted to spend money to suppress it, and even threatened to force that victimized girl to drop out. In the end, she turned out to be tough and went straight to the media. Well done. You can't go soft on people like this. Public opinion has completely reversed. All the previous rumors about me being jealous, petty, and ungrateful fell apart on their own, and Lin Wei became a pariah, hated by everyone. Her photos and all her past glorious deeds were dug up, including how she helped her poor roommates with near-expired food and second-hand goods. How she badmouthed people behind their backs, how she kept multiple people on the hook, all kinds of dirt kept surfacing. Li Jing and Zhang Meng were also affected, in particular, Li Jing. Her words defending Lin Wei and criticizing me back then were screenshotted and posted on the forum, and the comments below were full of people calling her a fool and an accomplice. She sent me more than a dozen WeChat messages, all apologies, and pleas for mercy. Ran, I was wrong. I was really wrong. I must have been blind to believe that bitch Lin Wei. Please. Could you explain it to them? I really didn't know she was that kind of person. I've been scolded so badly I don't even dare go out anymore. I'm almost depressed. Ran. We were roommates after all. Please help me. Looking at this information, all I felt was irony. If this is how things would be today, why did it have to come to this in the first place? I didn't reply and directly blocked her. We walk different paths and cannot work toward the same goal, and Lin Wei moved out of the dormitory. On the very day she was expelled, I heard that when she left, she had her clothes over her head, looking utterly miserable and disheveled. She called me, her voice hoarse and venomous. Suran, are you satisfied? You've ruined everything I had, you bitch. I won't let you get away with this. I replied calmly, Lin Wei, it wasn't me who ruined you. It was your own greed and malice. Besides, I've already recorded your threats. Thank you for adding another piece of solid evidence to my lawyers' letter. After saying that, I hung up. To deal with a mad dog, you have to be calmer than she is. That night, the program Today's Spotlight aired. Although the report withheld my name to protect me, the whole sequence of events, including that crucial recording that exposed Lin Wei's vicious intent, was broadcast exactly as it was. As soon as the program aired, public opinion was in an uproar. A university's phone lines were almost blown up, with calls all condemning the school for shielding the perpetrator and demanding to know the outcome of the case. The Lin family's company, the Lin Group, also came under huge pressure. Lin Group heiress, evil roommate, and campus loan quickly shot to the top of the trending searches. The company's stock price plummeted in response. Things were developing in the direction I had expected, and even more violently than I had expected. I thought the Lin family would be overwhelmed and too busy to take care of itself. However, I still underestimated the shamelessness of capital and the frenzy of its counterattack. The next day, a large number of articles suddenly appeared online to clear Lin Wei's name. Shocking. A huge reversal in the university campus loan incident. A poor girl carefully set a trap to frame her rich and beautiful roommate for money. In those articles, I was portrayed as a calculating, deeply scheming gold digger who would stop at nothing for money. They said I had known all along that Lin Wei came from a wealthy family. So I deliberately set a trap, recorded those edited audio clips, and did it all to extort a large sum of money. The article was written with vivid emotion and rich detail, and even included several down-and-out photos of me serving dishes in a restaurant while working my way through school, as well as smug photos of me smiling on stage when I received a scholarship, creating a stark contrast. In no time, unsuspecting netizens were led by the nose, and public opinion once again became murky and unpredictable. Looking at those words that twisted right and wrong, I was shaking all over with anger. I knew that the Lin family's counterattack had begun. They wanted to use money and public opinion to completely drown me. Just when I was at a loss, I received a call from the police station. Is this Suran? Regarding the fraud case involving Lin Wei that you reported, we have completed our preliminary investigation. However, Lin Wei has also filed a counterclaim against you, saying that you extorted her. The police officer's voice was very formulaic. So, we'll need you to come back to the police station tomorrow at 9 in the morning to cooperate with our investigation. 8. Extortion. Hearing those 4 words, I almost laughed in anger. The Lin family's shamelessness once again redefined my understanding. Yes, the other party provided a recording of the call between you and her father. In the recording, you rejected the settlement proposal they made and said some, rather suggestive things. The policeman's tone was somewhat evasive. I understood immediately that old fox, Father Lin, actually recorded the call when he phoned me. He deliberately used words to provoke me, luring me into saying things that sounded tough, but after editing and malicious interpretation, could be turned into threats and innuendos. For example, if I said, let's see who falls into the abyss first, they could completely twist it into me implying that if they didn't give me money, I would make a big scene and ruin their reputation. What a brilliant counterattack. I understand, officer. I will be there on time tomorrow. After hanging up the phone, I felt a chill rise from the soles of my feet. I was still too young after all, and had underestimated the viciousness and cunning of these old foxes who had spent decades fighting their way through the business world. Not only did they want to escape punishment, they even wanted to pin the blame on me instead, once the charge of extortion was Established, all my previous resistance would be turned into a carefully plotted scheme. I will go from being the victim to becoming the perpetrator. Lin Wei will go from a vicious abuser to a pitiful, rich, beautiful, and successful woman framed by a scheming gold digger, and I will not only be utterly disgraced, but may even face prison time. This move is a stroke of genius, and utterly vicious. I sat at my desk, looking out at the pitch-black night beyond the window, and felt an unprecedented pressure, but I couldn't panic. Panic would only make me fall into the other side's trap. I forced myself to calm down, carefully retracing the whole sequence of events and thinking about what cards I still had in my hand. Recordings, media, public opinion, all of these seem so fragile in the face of absolute power and capital. They can use money to buy off even more internet trolls, spread more rumors, and even influence the direction of judicial rulings. Could it be that, even after being reborn into a second life, I still can't escape the fate of being crushed by them? No, there must still be a way. I stayed awake all night, my mind racing. Early the next morning, with 2 dark circles under my eyes, I walked into the police station. In the hallway, I ran into Lin Wei and her mother head-on. After not seeing her for a few days, Lin Wei looked much more haggard, but the look in her eyes when she saw me was filled with the smugness and delight of a victor. Saran, didn't expect this, did you? Things come full circle. She leaned close to my ear and said in a voice only the two of us could hear, my dad said he'll hire the best lawyer in the city and make sure you spend a few years in prison. You're a former convict with a criminal record. Forget about ever making a comeback in this life. As for me, I'll be going abroad in a little while and starting my new life. What do you have to fight me with, you filthy, lowly insect? Lin's mother also folded her arms and looked me up and down with a contemptuous gaze, a cruel smile playing at the corners of her lips. My daughter is right. Some people are born maggots in the mud, and yet they still delude themselves into trying to climb to the heavens. In the end, they'll only fall and be shattered to pieces. We were originally going to give you 1 million yuan and send you packing. That would have been the best outcome for you. Too bad, you were just too greedy. I looked at the ugly expressions on the mother and daughter duo as they played off each other, and the fury in my heart was suppressed to the extreme, leaving me eerily calm. I ignored their provocation and walked straight into the interrogation room. The officer who received me was the same one from last time. His attitude was clearly much colder than before. Suran, the Lin family has hired the most famous top lawyer in the city and provided evidence that you are suspected of extortion. The situation is very unfavorable for you right now. Do you understand? I nodded. I understand. Is there anything else you want to add, or any evidence that can prove your innocence? I looked at him, then took something out of my canvas bag and gently placed it on the table. It was a small voice recorder. The police officer was taken aback for a moment. What is this? This is the recording of my conversation with Lin Wei and her daughter in the police station corridor yesterday. I pressed the play button. Lin Wei's smug and vicious voice came through clearly from the recorder. My dad said he'll hire the best lawyer in the whole city and make sure you spend a few years in prison. What are you going to use to fight me, you filthy, low-life maggot? And there was also her mother's maggot theory. The policeman's expression changed instantly. He suddenly raised his head and looked at me sharply. I met his gaze and spoke calmly. Officer, do what they're saying count as threats and personal insults. Also, regarding their countersuit accusing me of extortion, I have new evidence as well. I took out my phone and opened a video. The footage was a bit shaky, clearly filmed secretly. In the video, it was Dean Wang from a university, bowing and scraping to a man. That man was Lin's father. All that was heard was Father Lin saying, Dean Wang, good work. That 1 million will soon be transferred to the account you specified. As long as you're willing to testify in court and prove that Su Ran once approached you privately, hinting that she wanted a hefty mental damages fee, I'll add another 1 million for you after this is done. Dean Wang smiled so broadly that the wrinkles on his face spread open. Mr. Lin, don't worry, I'll handle it perfectly. When the video finished playing, the entire interrogation room fell silent. The police looked at me, their eyes filled with shock and disbelief. He probably couldn't figure out how I, an ordinary student, managed to get hold of this video, which was enough to bring the Lin family and Principal Wang to ruin. I put away my phone and looked at him. Officer, now, who do you think is lying? 9. The police officer stared at me fixedly for a full half-minute before he finally found his voice again. This video, where did you get it? A person with a strong sense of justice took the risk to film it and send it to me anonymously. Of course I couldn't tell him that this was the result of me spending all my savings to hire a private detective to follow Dean Wang around the clock for 24 hours. I knew the Lin family would definitely start with the school administration, and Someone as opportunistic as Dean Wine would be the best breakthrough. I was right. The police officer did not ask any further about the source of the video. He stood up and said to me with a serious expression, "Student Suran, please wait here for a moment. I need to report this to my superior immediately." He took my recorder and phone and quickly walked out of the interrogation room. I knew the scales had completely tipped in my favor. The Lin father and daughter thought their plan was flawless. But in the face of the solid evidence I presented, it turned into a colossal joke. Not only did they fail to convict me, but they also exposed their own criminal intentions of bribing witnesses and committing perjury. The wait wasn't long. About half an hour later, the door to the interrogation room was pushed open, in addition to the police officer from earlier. A middle-aged officer who appeared to be of higher rank also entered. The middle-aged officer walked up to me, extended his hand, and wore an expression of slight apology and admiration. "Hello, Suran. I am Captain Zhang from the City Bureau's Criminal Investigation Division. This incident was a lapse in our work, and we nearly wronged you. On behalf of the division, I extend my apologies to you." I shook his hand. "Captain Zhang, you are too kind. I believe the law is just. Rest assured," Captain Zhang said with a determined look in his eyes. "We will never tolerate the kind of lawless behavior exhibited by the Lin family, who attempted to trample on the dignity of the law with money and power. We have already established a special task force and officially launched an investigation into Lin and his daughter, as well as other relevant individuals." I let out a long, deep sigh of relief. I knew that I was finally going to win this war. In the following days, a major drama unfolded in City 8. Mr. Lin, chairman of the Lin Group, has been criminally detained by the police on suspicion of multiple charges, including commercial bribery, obstruction of justice, and threatening the personal safety of others. Wang, the former dean of University A, is also under investigation for allegedly accepting bribes and committing perjury. As the mastermind behind the entire incident, Lin Wei faces even more severe charges. She not only faces charges of identity theft and fraud, but also accusations of conspiring with her family to falsely accuse and frame others. The Lin family, this seemingly impregnable fortress, began to crumble from within. The company's stock price plummeted, partners terminated contracts one after another, banks came knocking to collect debts, and the entire group plunged into an unprecedented crisis. Mrs. Lin ran around seeking help for her husband and daughter, but was met with rejection at every turn. Those relatives and friends who once fawned over them now avoided her at all costs. In a single night, her hair turned white. Finally, she could no longer hold on. She asked to meet me, and the location was a cafe. She looked at least 10 years older than when I last saw her at the police station. The former glittering jewels and splendor were gone, replaced by a face full of haggardness and despair. Seeing me, she no longer had her previous arrogance and domineering attitude. With a thud, she knelt down before me. Everyone in the cafe turned to look. "Suran, I'm begging you. I'll even kowtow to you." As she spoke, she really started banging her head against the floor, making dull, thumping sounds of thud, thud. "I was wrong. We were all wrong. We were blind to your greatness, and we were just bullying others by relying on our power. Please be magnanimous and spare us. As long as you're willing to tell the police, willing to tell the judge that you forgive us, we're willing to compensate you. Any amount is fine. 5 million, 10 million, we'll sell our house and give it all to you." I watched her quietly and did not help her up. "Madam Lin, do you remember what you said to me last time?" She froze. "You said I was a maggot in the mud, deluding myself into trying to climb to the heavens, only to end up shattered to pieces." Mother Lin's face instantly went deathly pale. "Now, tell me, who is the maggot, and who ended up shattered to pieces?" I picked up the coffee in front of me and took a gentle sip. "Money. I'm not short of money right now. The Lin Group has collapsed, and its stock is nothing but waste paper. But before it crashed, I used all my scholarships and money borrowed from friends to buy put options. Thanks to you, I made a small profit, enough for me to finish university in peace, and even go abroad for further study." Lin's mother looked at me in disbelief, her eyes filled with fear. She probably could never have imagined that the seemingly weak and harmless girl in front of her could be so calculating and ruthless. "So, keep your money." What I wanted from the very beginning was never money. I stood up and looked down at her, who was kneeling on the ground. "What I want is for you, your daughter, and your husband to all pay the price for what you've done. Your daughter ruined my life, and I want her to repay it with her own life. This is what you call fair." I turned and walked away, not looking at her again. Behind me came her desperate, piercing cries. As I walked out of the cafe, the sunlight was just right. I looked up at the azure sky and took a deep breath. There was no longer that stench of rot and despair. From my past life in the air, in its place was freedom and rebirth. I took out my phone and saw a news notification. The title is, Lin Group officially announces bankruptcy liquidation. I turned off my phone, a faint smile curling at the corners of my mouth. Linway, don't you want to go abroad? Prison is the best destination I've chosen for you. Enjoy the rest of your life. 10. The final verdict has been handed down. Linway was sentenced to 7 years in prison for the combined crimes of fraud, false accusation and frame-up, and perjury. Her father, Mr. Lin, was sentenced to 15 years in prison for multiple offenses, including commercial bribery and obstruction of testimony, and was also ordered to forfeit all personal assets. Former Dean Wang was also sentenced to 3 years. A family that had once been infinitely glorious was thus completely destroyed. On the day of sentencing, I went to the courtroom. I sat in a corner of the gallery, quietly watching them. When the judge read out the verdict, Lin Wei broke down in court, screaming impossible, as she was dragged away by court officers like a madwoman. Her eyes swept over the crowd before finally settling on me, filled with endless resentment and unwillingness. Lin's mother cried herself into a coma in the gallery and was carried away in an ambulance. As for Lin's father, the once overbearing man, the moment he heard the verdict, it was as if all his vitality had been drained away in an instant. The whole of him collapsed, and his hair turned white overnight. I watched all of this, feeling neither satisfaction nor pity, only a sense of calm. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Everything was over. After this turmoil, the school also underwent a major shake-up. With the new dean and leadership team in place, the entire campus atmosphere was completely renewed. Because of the calm and wisdom I showed in this matter, I instead became a famous person at the school. Whenever I walked down the road, people would always point at me, but those looks were more admiring and curious than anything else. Zhang Ming tried several times to talk to me, but I brushed her off with silence. Some rifts, once formed, can never be mended. I was the only one left in the dorm, and I applied for a single room. The school approved it quickly. I poured all my energy into studying and competitions. With the first pot of money I made from stock trading, I enrolled myself in the best foreign language and professional skills training classes. I knew better than anyone that only by becoming strong enough could I truly take control of my own destiny. In my junior year, I represented my school in the National College Students Business Plan competition. At the final stage, I ran into someone I never expected to see, Qin Jing, the reporter who had once helped me. He was no longer a reporter. Instead, he was serving as a judge for the competition as the investment director of a well-known venture capital firm. He recognized me at a glance. After the match ended, he came to find me. Suran, long time no see, you're even more outstanding than I imagined. I smiled. Director Chen, long time no see, and thank you for all your help back then. That isn't help, it's my duty. He handed me a business card. Your project has a lot of potential, and our company is very interested. Would you be interested in interning with us after you graduate? I took the business card, and the gold embossed lettering shimmered under the light. It would be my honor. After graduating from college, I smoothly joined that venture capital firm. I started as a junior analyst, and with the experience of 2 lifetimes and a keen intuition far beyond my peers, I quickly began to stand out in the company. 3 years later, I became the youngest project partner in the company. I had my own apartment, my own car, and a career I had built entirely on my own. I finally became the kind of person I admired most in my past life. Occasionally, I also think of Linwei. I heard that she wasn't doing well in prison because she was beautiful and had offended people. She was often bullied. I heard that after suffering such a blow, Lin's mother could not cope and lost her sanity, eventually being sent to a psychiatric hospital. I didn't make a point of asking about them, and only occasionally caught bits and pieces from other people's small talk. To me, they were already insignificant strangers. There was no place for them in my world anymore. On yet another sunny afternoon, I sat in my spacious, bright office, handling the documents at hand. My assistant knocked and came in, handing me a new project proposal. Mr. Su, this is a startup project we just received. The other party hopes to get our angel round investment. I took the proposal and flipped it open casually. In the section for the project founder, I saw a familiar name, Zhang Meng. It was my former roommate. Her project was a non-profit platform dedicated to providing psychological support and legal assistance to impoverished female college students. The proposal was a bit rough, but the concept was excellent. I looked at the last page of the proposal, where a sentence was written, "May every girl who finds herself in the darkness have the courage to grow toward the light." My fingers gently brushed over those words. I thought back to many years ago, to the girl in the dormitory who silently threw expired snacks into the trash. I thought of the version of myself in the courtroom, watching my enemy get the punishment he deserved, yet Feeling nothing but calm inside, I picked up the pen and signed my name on the title page of the proposal. Then I said to my assistant, "Tell her, I'm backing this project." Outside the window, the sun shone over 10,000 miles, and the sky was as clear as a wash. I knew that my new life was just beginning. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. On the eve of the college entrance exam, my younger sister bound herself to the Cupid system, while I bound myself to the scholar system. As a result, she no longer needed to hug the entire class to win over the top student. She directly captured his heart. Meanwhile, the top student and I both got into Harvard. To preserve this love, she gave up attending a university in another city and chose a local vocational college instead, accompanying him day and night. Soon enough, the top student grew tired and proposed a breakup, yet I met him at the peak during an international competition filled with jealousy. My sister pretended to offer flowers on the award podium and stabbed me to death. When I opened my eyes again, this time my sister didn't hesitate to bind with the academic god system. "Sis, this time you get to play the brainless pretty face. The academic genius is mine." I smiled. Little did she know, I was already a top student. When Lisa rushed to claim the genius system, I knew instantly she had been reborn too. She looked at me triumphantly, her face brimming with confidence. "Sis, this time you get to play the brainless pretty face. The academic genius is mine." In her past life, she chose the Cupid system and overnight became the campus queen, effortlessly winning over the academic genius she had pursued for 2 years. Everyone dubbed them the sweetest cold genius and ditzy beauty couple. Many classmates had witnessed him tutoring her with adoring patience while she propped her chin in her hands, staring at him with a love-struck grin straight out of a rom-com. Later, the genius got into Harvard, while Lisa barely scraped into a third-tier college. To keep her boyfriend's heart, she went against her mother's wishes and secretly changed her college application to a local vocational school, just to avoid the pain of a long-distance relationship and to be with him day and night. But to her surprise, within less than a year, the top student grew tired of the relationship and broke up with her. Later, the top student focused on his studies and began appearing more frequently in various competitions, becoming either my opponent or teammate, and gradually, a friend. Little did we know, all of this was being watched by a pair of eyes filled with hidden resentment from the audience. Finally, at an awards ceremony, Lisa seized the chance while presenting flowers to scream with a twisted face, "Don't even think about stealing my boyfriend," and stabbed me to death. The wound from my past life still throbbed faintly as the system's cold inquiry sounded once more. I nodded indifferently. Instantly, Lisa's eyes gleamed with excitement, and so we completed the reselection of our lives. In front of the school's honor roll, a crowd had gathered. "Oh my God, Lisa, you're actually the top scorer in this mock exam. Do you know how long Hunter has dominated the rankings? You're the first to break it. You're amazing." Lisa lifted her head, a proud smile spreading across her face, as she basked in the continuous exclamations of surprise. Her excited gaze searched through the crowd for something. Suddenly, their eyes met. She pushed through the crowd, walked up to me, and faint confusion. "Sister, how did you do on your exam? I don't seem to find your name." Someone nearby immediately scoffed. "Don't bother looking. Kathy has never made it onto this list. To find her name, you'd have to make a reverse ranking list." Seeing my silence, Lisa leaned in even more smugly and sneered in my ear. "See, without the genius system, you're nothing. Not to mention Harvard, I doubt you'll even make it to any undergraduate program this time." As she spoke, she reached out to snatch the tightly gripped test paper from my hand. With a rip, the paper tore in half. She accidentally let everyone see that glaring 39. This elicited a burst of laughter from the crowd. Just then, a hand with distinct knuckles picked up the other half of the test paper lying on the ground. Lisa looked up at the newcomer, her expression changing faster than flipping a page. "Hunter, I've finally caught up to you," she exclaimed. Her voice was brimming with unconcealable excitement and admiration. Hunter was taken aback for a moment, politely saying congratulations, then turned to me and whispered, "Classmate Kathy, if you need tutoring, you can come to me." Instantly, there was a collective intake of breath. In my previous life, before being bound to the system, Hunter and I had almost no interaction. Later, because we often represented the school together in various activities, we gradually became nodding acquaintances. Then one day, out of the blue, after Lisa's inexplicable warning to me, his attitude also became inexplicably arrogant. Soon, rumors spread among the classmates about the top 2 students, like when Greek meets Greek. Could it be the Cupid system is working? Catching a glimpse of Lisa's pale face from the corner of my eye, I didn't think much and readily agreed. "Sure, how about after school today?" After Hunter left, Lisa looked at me in Disbelief and shrieked, "The Cupid system only works on someone the host has feelings for, Kathy, so I wasn't mistaken in my previous life. You really harbored the most despicable thoughts toward your own brother-in-law." I smiled faintly, offering no comment, then she deliberately muttered to herself, "So this is the power of the Cupid system." I came home in the evening, as expected. Mom was already waiting for me. Lisa chimed in from behind her, adding fuel to the fire. Not only did Kathy rank last in the exam, but she's also been fooling around with other boys after school. This hit both of her sore spots at once, making her eyes blaze with anger, because her own early romance with Dad had ended in disaster. Mom hated teenage relationships more than anything, and what she wanted most was for us to study hard and bring honor to the family. But in my past life, even when I consistently ranked first or second, she was never particularly pleased. She would just say indifferently, "Don't get cocky, getting first place in the college entrance exam is what really counts." Instead, for the youngest sister at the bottom of the rankings, every step up filled her with immense joy. I lied to myself, blaming it all on the Cupid system. I deliberately avoided thinking about how, for the past 16 years, she had always favored my sister like this. At that moment, Lisa stuck her tongue out at me triumphantly, waiting for me to be grabbed by the hair and beaten to the ground like before. But the next second, Mom's attitude changed drastically. 39 points is not bad. There's plenty of room for improvement. Go wash your hands and get ready for dinner. I smiled faintly, glancing at the stunned Lisa. "Fool, have you forgotten I'm already bound to the Cupid system with it? This so-called maternal love, I can have it too." Lisa persisted relentlessly, shrieking, "Mom, but aren't you going to do anything about Kathy's puppy love? Aren't you going to ask where she went today?" Mom stopped in her tracks and turned to look at me. "Are you really in a puppy love relationship?" I remained silent, simply raising my phone to show the library entry and exit records from tonight. For the first time ever, she scolded Lisa, "Don't accuse your sister without evidence." Lisa stood frozen in place. She had grown accustomed to days when Mom would side with her, united in hostility, quick to scold or hit me. Such betrayal was too much for her to accept at the moment. Fine, Kathy, were you deliberately lying to me this morning?" I smiled faintly. "Or, did you actually want me to go on that date?" Lisa stomped her feet furiously in anger, abandoned her meal, and stormed into her room, slamming the door behind her. Mom was so anxious that she kept asking repeatedly. I ate quietly by myself, washed the dishes, then returned to my room, took out my textbooks, and began reviewing while listening to the gentle coaxing sounds from next door. During the morning assembly, Hunter and Lisa stood shoulder to shoulder under the flagpole, giving their speech. Lisa was absolutely magnificent, singled out by the principal for special praise with the astonishing achievement of leaping over 400 places in the rankings. She instantly became the stuff of campus legend. As the morning assembly dispersed, she called out to Hunter, who was walking away quickly, and asked excitedly, "Hunter, did you hear my confession?" "What?" "There was a hidden message in my speech just now. It was a love letter to you." Lisa blinked her starry eyes. "Doesn't that count as expressing my hidden affection to the fullest in front of a packed crowd?" Hunter awkwardly rubbed his nose and distantly muttered an apology. Lisa grew impatient. "No, don't be so cold. We're lovers. We've been together for almost 2 years now, 2 lifetimes, and she's still this love-struck." I couldn't help but chuckle. Their gazes suddenly turned toward me. Hunter was about to call out to me when Lisa quickly stopped him, and I walked away without looking back. After school in the afternoon, Hunter suddenly appeared outside the classroom. People in the class whispered among themselves, "Is he here to see Lisa?" "Definitely. Didn't they give a speech together this morning? Not to mention Lisa has liked him for a long time. But didn't someone just tell him Lisa isn't here?" I walked out of the classroom. I caught a glimpse of Hunter following me out of the corner of my eye. Suddenly, he quickened his pace to catch up and somewhat awkwardly shoved a still warm jacket into my hands. At his tactful hint, I glanced down at my pants and hastily tied the jacket around my waist before hurrying to the restroom. After some commotion, we finally stood face to face in the pavilion. Looking at this young man with well-defined features and sharp angles before me, I suddenly understood a little why Lisa was so infatuated with him. Indeed, he not only excelled academically but also came from a good family and was handsome. No wonder he was a mythical presence in the school, universally acknowledged as the future CEO material. At that moment, Hunter looked at me with a pair of clear, bright eyes that were utterly mesmerizing. "Finally got to talk to you." But I interrupted. "Thank you. I'll wash the clothes and return them to you." With that, she turned and walked away. He called out from behind me, "Kathy, let's make a bet. See if I can guess what you're thinking. If I guess right, you stop. If I'm wrong, you walk away. Deal?" "You thought I was going to ask why you stood me up that day, didn't you?" I turned around and raised an eyebrow. "Wasn't I?" He chuckled softly and shook his head. I know because of Lisa, you wouldn't want to have too much to do with me. I became curious. So why did you come to me? Hunter took out a completed test paper from his sling bag, with a glaring score of 39 on it. Kathy, I looked at the rough work on this paper. Most of the problem-solving approaches were actually correct, even the angles were unexpectedly insightful, but the final results were wrong. He looked straight into my eyes, his gaze filled with curiosity. So, are you deliberately controlling your scores? 1 month later, just got home and found my room in complete disarray. Lisa was holding a boy's school uniform jacket, blocking my way angrily. Kathy, whose uniform is this? Tell me, whose uniform is this? I gave a strange smile. Isn't it obvious? Why even ask? To be honest, I didn't expect Hunter to be the first one to see through my trick of controlling my scores. Since childhood, I've been studying twice as hard to earn my mother's approval, but later, I realized that whether I ranked first or second, it couldn't compare to Lisa's coquetry, and instead, it would only provoke her jealousy and harassment, so I stopped showing my edge until I was bound to the academic god system. There's no denying that the genius system has helped me a lot. With it, I gradually gained confidence and started daring to participate in competitions. With it, I was able to meet so many like-minded people in college, but I didn't explain, just told Hunter that it was my private matter and asked him to keep it confidential. He agreed, his eyes sparkling with excitement, and invited me to discuss problems together in our free time. So after school, we would tacitly sit in the library, 2 rows apart, working on the same set of papers, and finally exchanging our problem-solving ideas. At this moment, Lisa's face was flushed with anger, her voice hoarse from shouting. So all those rumors were true? You've been secretly seeing him behind my back? Kathy, you shameless woman, I regret not stabbing you a few more times back then. I stared at her coldly, a surge of hatred welled up inside. Hate? Of course she hated. Why wouldn't she? In my previous life, I had finally found my path in academic research, thinking I had discovered the meaning of my existence, only to be stabbed to death by her. Since childhood, she had taken advantage of our mother's favoritism to bully me without restraint. She already had everything, treated like a princess by everyone, yet for some trivial dissatisfaction, baseless jealousy, or sheer delusion, she ruthlessly took my life, and she had the audacity to act so righteous. My fists clenched suddenly, then loosened. I smiled. Yeah, so what? But this was your own choice. During the second mock exam, as the exam was nearing its end, I was bent over filling in the answer sheet. Suddenly, a clear voice shattered the silence. Teacher, someone is cheating here. Instantly, all eyes turned toward us. Looking up, I saw Lisa in the front seat half turned toward me, clutching a test answer sheet in her hand, her sinister gaze flashing with ill intent. The proctor immediately took us to the office and asked sternly, Lisa, what's going on? My gaze fell on Hunter, who was sitting not far away at his desk, looking at me with some surprise. Being exempt from exams to do your own things, that's the privilege of top students. I finished the test paper early, but my sister asked me to lend her my answer sheet to copy. I had no choice but to agree, but I never expected her to copy everything. The teacher had just confiscated 3 answer sheets, and sure enough, 2 of them had identical answers. One had her name written on it, the other had mine. I calmly defended myself. This answer sheet isn't mine. I hadn't finished filling out my own yet. She immediately retorted, that one of yours was just a smokescreen, part of your act. The teacher picked up the 3 answer sheets and carefully compared them, then looked at me with sharp eyes. Kathy, this is indeed your handwriting. By now, the window was crowded with heads eager for gossip, except for Hunter. Everyone's gaze was piercingly aggressive. I let out a bitter laugh. Fine, if you say it's mine, then it's mine. Just as a hint of triumph flickered at the corner of Lisa's lips, I abruptly changed my tone. I solved the problems myself. I filled in the answers myself. What's the issue? Lisa's expression froze. Before the teacher could speak, she jumped up in agitation. What? How dare you say such a thing? Teacher, look at her. The teacher also frowned, speaking sternly. Kathy, cheating is unacceptable, but lying is even worse. This answer sheet is identical to Lisa's, and both are completely correct. The implication was clear. There was no way I could have done it myself. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Hunter's furrowed brow relax. I let out a faint laugh. Teacher, why do you assume I'm lying? Accusing someone without proof is what's truly wrong. The teacher was stunned. Teacher, don't waste your breath on her, Lisa snapped, letting out a cold laugh. Just give her a few problems to solve on the spot. Let's see how long she can keep up the tough act. As she spoke, a hint of ruthlessness flashed in her eyes. Sister, I gave you a chance to admit it earlier, but you refused. No, even if you want to confess, it's too late. I'm going to humiliate you in front of everyone and reclaim my justice. And so, under the watchful eyes of everyone, a brand new test paper was placed before me. After completing the test, Lisa's eyes gleamed with impatient malice, eagerly awaiting my final judgment. After a moment of silence, the teacher spoke. Kathy, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you earlier. I apologize to you here. Lisa, who had been acting arrogantly just a second ago, widened her eyes and her expression changed abruptly. What, are you sure you're not mistaken? The teacher shook his head. The first 3 sections were answered with 100% accuracy. Lisa refused to believe it, snatched the test paper, and muttered to herself, impossible, impossible, the genius system is clearly bound to me. In a fit of rage, she crumpled the paper into a ball and threw it on the ground. Maybe she just happened to have done this test before. Give her a different one. The teacher scolded. Stop fooling around. You should also apologize to your sister. Lisa suddenly had an epiphany and let out a cold laugh. I get it now. Hunter taught her all this. Pointing at the boy in the office, she shouted, Teacher, I want to report Kathy and Hunter for violating school rules by secretly dating. Under Lisa's unreasonable behavior, the situation escalated. In the office, the grade director, the principal, and both sets of parents were all present. I stood alone in the center, like a condemned criminal on trial. Teacher, if you don't believe me, you can ask any student at random. Lisa bit her lip, her resentful tone tinged with a hint of grievance. Everyone knows they're secretly involved with each other now. Thus, the stern principal made an example of me, the refined noblewoman hurled insults, and my mother scolded me in shame. Everyone turned their spears toward me. Hunter stood in front of me, barely containing his fury, and coldly defended the two of us. But he didn't understand his status as a rising star standing next to a problem student like me was, in their eyes, an undeniable original sin. I pushed him away, staring coldly at those so-called adults and the smug Lisa, and said sharply, You'd better find proof, otherwise, it won't be me nailed to the pillar of shame, it'll be you. Just then, our homeroom teacher, who had been on sick leave, rushed back. Everyone, please disperse. I've been watching these 2 kids, and I've been discussing problems with them in the library. I can vouch for their integrity with my own character. They've done nothing improper. The crowd was stunned, exchanging bewildered glances. When they returned to the classroom, the way their classmates looked at Lisa had completely changed. What's this? Not only falsely accusing her own sister of cheating, but also slandering the top student for being in a relationship. Wasn't it Lisa herself who was chasing after the school heartthrob every single day, resorting to dirty tricks when pursuit fails? Whispers like these reached her ears one after another. Lisa stood in place, clenching her fists tightly, and roared, What do you all know? You fools blinded by the system. It seems she couldn't take it anymore. In her past life, she was clearly the little princess everyone adored. In just 2 short months, the top students sided with me, mom sided with me, the teacher sided with me, and now even those followers she once teamed up with to isolate me are on my side. When has our most spoiled and beloved little princess ever suffered such grievances? Lisa stared at me with deadly intensity, gnashing her teeth. Just wait until after the college entrance exams, then you'll see. Her face pale, she forced a haughty demeanor. Kathy, when he first bound with the system, he fell for me at first sight, but now you 2 aren't even together yet. I'm afraid he must find you repulsive. What does it matter that you've bound with the Cupid system, this time? The one who'll meet him at the summit. It can only be me, the one bound to the academic god system. Soon, the college entrance examination arrived as scheduled. I was about to leave when I suddenly realized the door had been locked from the outside. A cold laugh echoed from outside. Kathy, just stay put at home. With grades this bad, whether you take the exam or not makes no difference. My heart raced in panic as I frantically pounded on the door. Open up, Lisa, open this door right now. But the only response I got was the loud slam of a closing door. Last night, she tried to steal my exam admission ticket but failed, broke my watch, snapped my pen so it wouldn't write, and even secretly replaced one of my 2B pencils with a fake one in my pencil case. I had been cautious enough to prevent all these attempts, but I never expected her to be so brazen this morning. I forced myself to calm down and first called the police, but by the time they arrived, it might already be too late. So I shouted, Mom, are you out there? Sure enough, there came a very faint sound from outside. Mom, you can't just help her harm me like this. Do you know what Lisa has been doing behind your back? She not only frequently takes leave to skip competitions for soccer games, she even refunded the tutoring fees and spent them at the beauty salon. Finally, a somewhat indifferent voice came from outside. Kathy, Lisa said if I let you out, she'd hand in a blank paper this afternoon. You know, your sister has a real shot at getting into a top school now, so I have no choice but to keep you locked up. My heart sank completely. What kind of bullshit Cupid is this? Nothing compares to self-interest, nothing compares to favoritism. But in the end, Lisa was still disappointed. In the exam hall, watching me arrive 1 minute late, she gritted her teeth, her eyes burning with resentment. I took my seat, took a deep breath, and quickly got into the zone. For the next few days, I didn't go home, taking all my documents and staying at a hotel instead. Even at the post-exam class gathering, I was still thinking about where to stay next. At that moment, a commotion arose in the private room. Looking up, a slender and upright figure walked in through the doorway, having changed out of his school uniform into casual clothes. Hunter shone even brighter. He stood out like a crane among chickens, instantly noticeable in any crowd. Amidst the crowd surrounding him, he scanned the private room as if searching for someone, when his gaze landed on me sitting in the corner sofa, his eyes curved into a smile. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the crowd, blocking his path. Lisa tightly grabbed his wrist, her expression shy. Hunter, I lost a game of truth or dare and have to confess to someone I like. I want to tell you, I really do like you. Let's forget all the unpleasantness from before and start over, okay? A burst of enthusiastic cheering erupted. Hunter pulled his hand away from hers, his voice icy, laced with faint disgust. Sorry, I already have someone I like. Instantly, Lisa froze in place, her face turning pale. Everyone simultaneously turned their gaze toward me. You know what? None of these are your true feelings. Your infatuation with Kathy is all the system's doing. It's all fake. Lisa sobbed and pleaded. Don't you like smart, high IQ girls? That's exactly what I am now. We can go to Harvard together right away. Suddenly, she turned and glared at me fiercely. Kathy, do you dare to make a bet? The one who scores worse has to leave this city. Do you dare? Sure, who had been silent all along, responded readily, turning to Hunter. Hunter, confess your feelings to me now. I'll consider being with you. Upon hearing this, Lisa's face twisted, her chest heaving violently. Hunter froze for a moment, looking at me with disbelief. As the light in his eyes grew brighter, a radiant smile curled at the corners of his lips. After his devout confession, Lisa completely lost her mind. By the time her mother arrived to pick her up, she was already heavily drunk, crying and making a scene. You bunch of gullible fools, wait until the college entrance exam results come out, and you'll all be proven wrong by me. Woo-woo. Mom shoved Lisa into the taxi, then glanced guiltily at the boy beside me and quietly asked if I wanted to go home. On the day of the college entrance exam, he called to cheer me on, but upon hearing my voice, quickly realized I was in trouble. Hunter calmed down and asked me to turn on the speakerphone. He used both soft and hard tactics, confessing to my mom that he was the son of the wealthiest man and was pursuing me, pleading with her to be reasonable. At the same time, he made it clear that if she insisted on her own way, he would definitely make her regret it. His tone was low and cold, the implied threat sending chills down one's spine. Later, my mother relented, and I met him halfway as he came to pick me up, and we rushed to the exam venue together. At that moment, looking into Hunter's gentle eyes, I said, I'm sorry. As smart as he was, he must have known that the words I had said in the private room were just meant to provoke Lisa. His eyelashes fluttered slightly as he softly replied, It's okay. In the car, I looked at these two unfamiliar family members beside me, then I glanced at the young man still standing quietly in the rearview mirror. Watching us leave, I felt inexplicably lonely, yet also somewhat warm. Soon enough, the day of the results arrived. I sat at my desk, staring at the query webpage in front of me, too nervous to click for a long time. Having lived a second life, I was confident I could get into a good school, but I wasn't sure if I could return to my alma mater from my previous life. Suddenly, an excited scream erupted from the next room. 701. I scored 701. Oh my God, Lisa, am I dreaming? Before long, my door was kicked open with a bang. Overjoyed, Lisa rushed in holding her phone. Thank you all for the fireworks and planes. I've received your kindness. And congratulations, everyone. Now I'm so nervous. I really want to know how my sister did on her exam. After saying that, she pointed the camera straight at me, looking at the colorful page. I pushed it away in disgust. Who told you to come in? Lisa, however, mistook my reaction for guilt and became even more smug. She put on a concerned expression. Sis, don't be so angry. Everyone is just worried about you. Look, many of the commenters are our classmates, even some juniors. What's the big deal about failing? There's always next year. Concern, clearly just wanting to see me make a fool of myself. By this point, some viewers in the live chat were already calling for respect towards my privacy. Lisa pretended to agree, but in the split second before turning away, she lightning fast pressed the confirm button for me. The atmosphere was dead silent. 1 second, 2 seconds, suddenly the barrage exploded. OMG, 715, absolutely terrifying. This is the highest I've seen so far. Oh my God, how is this possible? Is this really Kathy from our class? Lisa was completely stunned, her pale lips trembling as she struggled to speak. My mother, who had been standing at the door, rushed in and hugged me, tears of excitement streaming down her face. My good daughter, amazing, truly amazing. I let her hold me. My heart that had stopped for a second started beating again, and I finally relaxed at this moment. Lisa also snapped back to reality. Impossible, impossible, how could you score so high? She frantically explained to the live chat. She usually only scores around 300 or 400. How could she suddenly jump to over 700? Either there's a mistake, or she cheated. Kathy, you have to give everyone an explanation today. Too lazy to fall into this self-justification trap. I smiled faintly and chose the reason that would annoy her the most. It's the power of love. Thanks to the teacher and the top student who helped me with tutoring, the bullet. Comments exploded again. The top student also scored 710. They're so amazing. Wow, so inspiring. Lisa was so angry that she abruptly ended the live stream suddenly. The phone vibrated. Hunter had sent a congratulatory message. I smiled and sent him a congratulatory reply as well, then tossed a few 10-second surveillance clips into the class group chat. It was the night before the college entrance exam, and Lisa had been up to some mischief in my room multiple times. By the way, I casually asked, "Oh, what was that bet you made with me again?" At Lisa. Instantly, the group chat exploded. Lisa, holding her phone, staggered and collapsed onto the bed, trembling. Later, I moved out of my parents' home, working part-time to save up for tuition. No matter how much my mom tried to persuade me, I refused to go back. On the day I received the acceptance letter, Hunter and I ran to the beach together. Amid the sound of crashing waves, he confessed his feelings to me. "Do you remember the first time we spoke? It was during the first exam in freshman year when my pen suddenly stopped working. You, sitting behind me, lent me one of yours. From that day on, it seems I couldn't help but always look for you in a crowd." As he spoke, he took out two pens. One was a worn-out ballpoint pen, the other an exquisite fountain pen. "This pen is mine now. As a return gift, I'd like to give you a new one." I froze for a moment. The boy's words were soft, his eyes sincere and bright, tinged with a hint of nervousness. In the end, I accepted it, just like that. As in our past lives, we stepped into this dreamlike institution, except this time, Lisa came too. On the day of freshman orientation, downstairs at the dormitory, Lisa glared at me with resentment. "Kathy, you must be feeling quite smug, but your gloating won't last much longer. In my previous life, it was after university that my Cupid system gradually stopped working. Now, just wait to be abandoned by Hunter." Looking at her contorted face, I could almost sense the madness brewing within her. After the last incident, Lisa's reputation among her classmates was already ruined. Meanwhile, the story between Hunter and me, after being vividly passed around by everyone, turned into an inspiring campus legend. How could she not hate it? At that moment, Hunter helped me move my luggage. He completely ignored her and looked at me with concern. I shook my head and pulled him away. I don't care what Lisa says or does, being able to return to this familiar campus again in this lifetime fills my heart with nothing but gratitude and joy. From that day on, Lisa became obsessively attached to Hunter. She used different phone numbers to add him in various ways. She bought him brunch and tried to win over his roommates. She skipped her own classes to attend his instead. She even turned into a stalker, showing up at every club and competition he was involved in. Soon, the entire campus knew he had an obsessive admirer. During a debate competition, after Lisa, who was a debater, publicly confessed her feelings again, Hunter finally got fed up and called the police directly. She still refused to give up, shouting, "Your feelings for Kathy aren't real. You'll get tired of her soon." Hunter, annoyed to the point of a headache, ran up to me and whined pitifully, "You say I'll get tired of you. I'd be lucky if you don't get tired of me first. All you ever think about is doing experiments." In the midst of my busy experiment, I couldn't help but chuckle and gently tap his nose. He held me down and kissed me deeply. Indeed, campus life is vibrant and colorful, like a vast ocean of knowledge. I'm happily swimming in it, absorbing all the nutrients. I can't be bothered to waste my energy on Lisa. A new day. I had arranged to go to the library with Hunter, but downstairs at the dorm, I ran into Mom and Lisa in the middle of an argument. I saw Mom slap her, furious beyond words. "Lisa, there's a limit to your love-struck foolishness. Can't you just focus on your studies? All you do is chase after men or ask for money. What kind of behavior is that? Can't you be more sensible like your sister?" Amid the crowd's stares, Lisa covered her face and began to sob. Suddenly, she caught sight of Hunter. Like a madwoman, she rushed up to him, lifting her tear-streaked face. "Hunter, I'm pregnant. It's yours." Everyone present was stunned. Hunter glanced at me, his tone sharp. "Please don't talk nonsense." In an instant, countless thoughts flashed through my mind. Suddenly, I recalled that his behavior had indeed been somewhat strange recently, always silent, with strange eyes, watching me quietly, yet the moment I noticed, they immediately looked away, as if something was weighing on their mind. Lisa touched her abdomen, trembling as she said, "How could I joke about something like this? Have you forgotten? That day I told you everything exactly as it happened. All about past lives and system exchanges, and then you left, looking utterly devastated." I suddenly turned to look at Hunter. He happened to glance at me too, his eyes slightly evasive. No wonder he seemed so sensitive and uneasy during that period. He always finds various excuses to make me accompany him. Does he think I'm seeking revenge, or just playing around? He looked at her again, his tone icy and somber, but other than that, nothing else happened. But that night I was completely drunk. I even called your roommate to ask you to pick me up. If that wasn't you, then, suddenly, her voice cut off abruptly, as if realizing something. All color drained from her face. In despair, Lisa rushed up to the rooftop. Standing on the edge, she screamed, "Let me die. No one in this world cares about me anymore." Mom was flustered and hastily knelt before me. "Kathy, let her have it. She's your own sister, a living life too." I looked at Hunter. He held his breath, watching me like a puppy about to be abandoned. I indifferently rejected her. Lisa instantly broke down in tears, hysterical. "You clearly have the Cupid system. You have so many people to choose from. Why must you specifically compete with me for him? System, I want you to give it all back. Return everything that was mine." Suddenly, that familiar electronic voice echoed in my mind. "Do you wish to unbind the system?" Lisa stopped sobbing, gritted her teeth, and said, "Yes, I want to unbind it. Kathy, I'd rather we suffer together than see you live well alone." The system asked for my opinion. I gave Hunter a deep look. He was still clueless, but seemed to sense something, looking at me with a somewhat lost and helpless expression. "What are you going to do, Kathy?" I reassured. "Everything will be fine." Then I answered coldly in my heart, "Since she insists on this, then I agree." But Lisa was dumbfounded. After that, far from coming to his senses, Hunter became even more inseparable from me. "No way, this damn system must be glitching," she wailed and screamed, pounding her chest and stamping her feet. But deep down, she knew the system wasn't at fault, because from that day onward, her grades plummeted, and she failed course after course. The academic genius system had truly been deactivated. Later, due to her poor GPA, she was advised to withdraw. After taking her through the surgery and completing the withdrawal process, her mother was utterly disappointed and moved out. Now, she's at home acting erratically, wailing and howling, crying and asking why every day, screaming and demanding a second chance. Hearing this, I couldn't help but feel a bit dazed. 2 lifetimes, and she still hasn't understood. Relying on the system is worse than relying on yourself to love others. You must first love yourself. Perhaps she won't believe it. Whether in my past life or in high school, my feelings for Hunter never went beyond mutual admiration between intelligent minds. Thus, the Cupid system would have no effect on him. "Kathy, over here, in the library." Hunter waved at me with a smile from his seat. A bright and sunny smile. It warms the heart. Holding my books, I unconsciously broke into a smile and walked briskly toward him. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.